Hello again, everyone. In this technical analysis of the stock market video, I call it a classic pattern because that's exactly what's developed here on the S&P 500, but it's also showing up on a couple of other major indices. And we're going to talk tonight about the weekly views of the Dow Industrials and the Nasdaq 100, but then we're going to dive into a little more detail on the S&P 500, the SPX. Take a look at the VIX and see what's going on with it. The sentiment coming out of the Chicago Board of Options Exchange, the option pits, an update on Bitcoin ETF GBTC, given all the volatility that's happened this last week with Bitcoin. Wow. And then an update on Apple. All right, so let's start off here with the Dow. The Dow was up 123 points on Friday, but quite a bit of a volatile week. And for the week, the Dow was down 174 points. So back-to-back down weeks here for the Dow. And let's take a look at the Nasdaq 100. The Nasdaq 100 was down today, down about a little over 0.5%, 1.82, closing at 327.07. But it was up a little bit, about 0.6 points for the week. After being down 4 weeks in a row, it was up just a little bit for the week in here. But again, we got this classic pattern that's developing, and we're going to talk about that on the SPX. Now, here's the SPX. It was down 3.25 points today, potential little reversal top in here. And then for the week, we closed down almost 18 points. But the interesting thing, remember last week I talked about this candle that formed for the week? And I said, looks like a hanging man. And to get confirmation of the hanging man in terms of the negative potential, and here you need to, at least step number one is you need to close below the low of the body in here. And we did that this week. So now it's going to be really interesting to see what happens next week. Do we get the follow through to the downside with the negative implications from this candlestick pattern of a week ago? All right, so what was going on last week? Last week, at the end of that 2-day bounce, I called the video, the title of it was Trust the Bounce, question mark. Well, here was the bounce. Here was the first 3 days of this week. Well, then we got another bounce. So it's like, oh, it's almost like Trust the Bounce 2, the part 2. And, it's the same situation that we're in. Let's take a look at the Elliott Wave pattern I've got in here. And I'm labeling this as wave 1 down and wave 2 back. And I know a week ago I probably labeled it as potentially right here. But I really believe now the picture has become even stronger. That's what's happening is that this is the top of wave 2 and the high for the day that happened today, the high at 41.8872. Now, here's why. When we look at what happened with this price action, we had a 5-wave move down in wave 1. Now, I know you're going to look at this, some of you who are more into the Elliott Wave, and you say, well, Joe, really? You got 5 waves? I guarantee you, when you drill down and you take a look at the 30-minute and especially the 15-minute, you will see that this 5-wave pattern works very well. We had a very clear 3-wave. And another clear 3-wave. So here's where we were last Friday, right? Here's, well, actually right here. Here's the last bar of the day, the last hour. I'm on a 65-minute view. Here's the last bar of the day. And then here's what we got this week. And in a Elliott Wave pattern, a classic corrective pattern called a flat, okay? It's a sideways. It's meant to describe a sideways type corrective pattern. So, it looks very zigzaggy, but really what are we doing? We're net going this way. And the actual correction is occurring right here in terms of, the move from the low back up to the high, but we're doing it in a sideways manner as opposed to, right here is a pure little zigzag in this pattern. So we have 3, 3, and then you expect a 5 in a flat. That's exactly what we got. So right now, it sure looks like what happened today, this first hour of the day, has a high probability of being the high for this pullback. And if that's the case, I'm expecting this wave 3, minuet level wave 3, to come on down very strong next week, price action. And this is what I'm talking about. Here's the path forward. Now, am I indicating that this is where the third wave may come down to? In this particular case, I am. This is an estimate. Based on the first two waves, I'm estimating that it may come down here at around 3,900. Now, it may even go stronger than that. Sometimes third waves in stocks, the third wave is the one that is more likely to extend than either 1 or 5. Okay, so when you think of 1, 3, and 5, this is the one that could really extend and have some real downdraft type of activity going on. So we'll see what we get starting, well, it actually may have started this afternoon in the last hour of the day. All right, that's the S&P 500. Let's take a look at the VIX. And let me pull that up. I'm going to go back to this moving average view. And here is the view I'm looking at. Now, look at these trend lines. You know, we've gotten this, you know, I'd seen this little pattern developing several times. And so I thought that we were going to get a huge explosion this week, and we started to get that on Wednesday with the follow through. But then Thursday and Friday, we kind of back down a little bit. But we still closed slightly above that 20 level. That's why I have that in red, because, you know, that 20 level on the VIX is a level in which, you know, many times people look at it and say, well, now the volatility is getting elevated, and it is. So it'll be real interesting to see, do we get the follow through in here like this that takes us back up and we break through that trend line? Because if we do that, I think it's going to get very explosive. So that's something to keep an eye on. All right, let me find the put to call ratios. Okay, on Friday, there were 53 puts for every 100 calls. And actually, I need to color code that red. And there we go, by the magic of the pause button. We've got that corrected. And it keeps that 10-day moving average right at 0.56 and in the yellow here. So, you know, we're coming out of this. I haven't talked about put to calls in a long, long time, many months, because it was the same old story. I mean, the extreme was just incredible. When the 10-day moving average gets into the 40s, or even over here on the one-day readings gets in the 40s, I color-coded this dark red. And man, the extreme that's been going on with the bullishness is just off the charts. I mean, it's off the charts. It's like nothing I've seen in 20 years. And since I've been tracking these numbers for, 20 years or so. Now, you go back, you say, well, Joe, maybe that's getting to be the new norm. No, it's not the new norm. And here's the thing. You go back up here, this all started in June of last year in terms of this kind of extent and this kind of extreme. And you go back up here and you go back up to the spring, this is a significant bottom. Okay, we're looking for an intermediate bottom to, significant bottom kind of thing that like happened at the end of March into the beginning of April. Here's the kind of put to call readings you're going to get that indicates that kind of a bottom. We're not even close to that yet. So we're keeping an eye on that for the selling. But, we've just, all you got to do is scroll back up through all of this and you can see you don't have very many times. You can go back years and years and years and years and years, and you just, before you get this kind of extreme activity that's been going on in the second half of last year into this spring. So it's going to be real interesting to see here as we start to sell off, the kind of put buying that starts to kick up in here and turn over. All right, so that is the put to call ratio. That is the sentiment coming out of the option pits, where it's reflected by people's actions, not what they're saying, whether I think I'm bullish or I think, what are you doing? Are you buying calls or are you buying puts? Well, still a lot of people that are buying calls. Okay, let's do an update on Bitcoin. Here's GBTC. Well, it was down hard again on Friday as Bitcoin continued to pull back again. Here's Wednesday, and you can see the low, and it's really interesting. That low came down all the way. I don't know why I'm really meant to have this down here like this, I believe. Actually, maybe I have it over here. Let's go over here. There we go. Okay, 28.44 is the January low on the GBTC ETF. Okay, so I am looking for the fifth wave down. I think we may be in it, but it's a very short fourth wave. That's my only caution, that this may morph into something else and chop sideways. So we'll see. Right now, I'm seeing three waves down on the hourly view, and we saw a sharp three wave back up for this first wave in here. So this could be some kind of morphing sideways. This just seems like way too quick for a fourth wave. So we're keeping an eye on it, looking for this fifth wave to develop and confirm. Now, I have tweaked this a little bit. When I'm looking at A, B, C, here's where C would equal A, and it's 24.82. Okay, that's where it would equal. And so let me just pull that down here like that, just so you know that I'm putting it right there. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. And then these retracement levels, I'm talking about wave 4 retracing wave 3, a percentage retracement of wave 3. A target usually is 38%, but it's not unusual to see 50%. So 38 to 50% is the zone for a retracement zone in here. So we'll see how this last wave comes down and plays out. And I'll show you just one more thing real quick. I know some of you folks were thinking last week, oh, well, you can't predict, you can't, judge Bitcoin based on GBTC. Well, GBTC is based on Bitcoin. Well, here's Bitcoin. Here's the price action of Bitcoin on just the regular daily charts. Here's the January low, 28,732. I also saw some comments where people say, well, there's no way Bitcoin's going below 40,000. It's going to fluctuate. Sideways range between 40 and 50 or between 40 and 60. Well, so much for that, because it hit a low of 30,000 earlier this week. And so it's going to be really interesting to see, where does it stop? Does it keep coming down here a little bit more? How does it play out with what I'm talking about when I look at what's happening here with this Bitcoin ETF? So very interesting, to watch the wave structure in here. But that is Bitcoin. Let's take a quick look at Apple. I am still bearish on Apple. My wave count on Apple is that I think we've had this wave 2 pullback. Look at how bearish it's not engulfing today. I would say it's kind of a bearish, very bearish cloud cover type of candlestick type of pattern in here for today's price action, down to $1.88. I'm still expecting this to continue to work its way down and flesh out 5 waves. So that is the direction that I think Apple's heading. We'll see how it goes. All right, that's it for today. If you felt like the video was helpful, give it the thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber to the YouTube channel, hit that little subscriber button. And if you'd like to have more of this kind of information, head over to joehenches.net. You can't see it very well, can you? joehenches.net. And check out the website and the membership. All right, everyone. Have a great rest of the weekend and a great week. We'll talk to you on the next video.